All right, welcome back in everybody to another One Piece discussion video. Today, we're here to talk about a character who, I would say, filled the Barbell role before Barbell was introduced. Sai, what does that mean? Well, Barbell, in the most recent couple of chapters of One Piece, has propelled himself to such a mythical status that everybody cannot help but theorize around him. Is he the man marked by flames? When is he showing up next? How much stronger is he than Jinbei? Those are questions that everybody and their parents are asking. But before Barbell was sweeping the nation, there was another character who did exactly that. You may have forgotten him, but that character is none other than the Mad Monk known as Urouge, or Urouge as some call him. We know so little about Urouge. I do not know how Oda has gotten away with showing us so little of this character for all these years. Some people even believe that Oda just straight up forgot about him. So with that being the case, I had to throw up a couple of polls, man. How important will Urouge be? And when will we actually see him? There are 4 options on board here. The first 2 implies that Urouge is an important character, whether it's fight-related, lore-related, or etc. The first 2 say he's that guy. And they do deviate on whether or not he's in Elbaf or if he's on a different island, and we'll simply see him at a later date. And then, of course, for the last 2 options, they're the exact opposite. He's not important, and whether or not he's in Elbaf or non-Elbaf, those are the varieties there. So, getting right into my personal opinion, I feel like he's in Elbaf. I know, I am in the minority here. Only 17% of people actually believe that, and I get why it's so low. Sai, why is it low? Well, it's because a lot is happening in the Land of Giants right now, right? Emu has summoned a demon army with the help of Killingham, and Elbaf is in flames. Whereas Urouge, if Urouge were here, it would just be very odd. He's got to be like hiding in a bush somewhere if he's actually on this island. Or he's up in the Heaven Realm and it'll just simply come down at a later date. But here's the thing. If he is here and if he does show up, what will he actually contribute? Sorry, guys. I do not want to be mean-spirited. But in a fight between Urouge and Gunko, Urouge and Emu, Urouge and Somers, Urouge and Killingham, Urouge and maybe even Shamrock, I can't see Urouge winning. Brother, I do not think he is a Conqueror's Haki user. I'm so sorry, y'all. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe we'll look back at this video, at this segment, and we'll be laughing at my takes. But based on what we have, Urouge, power-wise, hasn't exactly been impressive. Oh, yeah, he can beat a Yonko commander for sure, man. He beats Snack. But when it comes to a fight with the big dogs, I just don't know, man. So, yeah, that's why I think it's a little bit odd if he were in Elbaf. Like, what would he contribute? Maybe he just shows up later. I think that's kind of where most people will be at when they say he's in Elbaf. Like, I am so sure that when we go down through the comment section, not a single person's gonna say, oh yes, he's gonna help fight the God Knights. Oh yes, he's gonna send Emu home. Nobody's gonna say that. I promise you right now, unless you scroll to like the bottom of the comment section, unless we pay somebody, I do not think anybody's gonna have that take. Generally, when people look at Urouge, they just see a lore dump waiting to happen. And I am the same way. Granted, I think he could take down, like, I don't know, a couple of Vice Admirals. I think he could take down Yonko commanders if they ever pop back up again. But as it stands right here, it's like, okay, he's going to show up, probably drop some Sky People lore, maybe talk about the Sun God, and then he's going to bounce. He might be the man marked by flames. I remember that was a very popular theory when we first heard about that mysterious character. So that is still up in the air, so I don't want to discount that. But yeah, when we look at Urouge, I don't think anybody really sees a competent fighter. Like, in the entire history of One Piece, nobody's ever said, oh yes, Urouge, he's gonna be the next main villain in One Piece. Nobody said that, brother. I'm gonna be so serious. Imagine how shocking that would be. We have had a couple of villain supernovas before. Capone acted as a villain in the beginning, and then he was actually on our side. We had a Pooh, who was a villain. We had Hawkins, who was a villain. And it's like, yeah, like, he could be like that. But let's be real. We are at a point in the story where if Urouge came back as a big bad boss, oh my god, he's gonna get wiped. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, he's not fighting Luffy. You know, he's not fighting Zoro. He's not fighting Sanji. He's probably just gonna fight either Frankie or Jinbei. Like, I know that sounds disrespectful, but look at his powers, y'all. I do not know if you guys play Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which I've been bringing it up more and more as the chapters have gone on because I am a big player. And the 11th anniversary is around the corner, but he has one of the worst passes out there. His ability, whether it's a devil fruit or inherent ability, we don't know yet because he's just shrouded in mystery. His ability requires him to get hit to get stronger. Not that bad, right? We've seen characters before in anime that use that ability to their advantage. The downside with the Rouge is that he feels the damage. There's a limit to it, right? You know, you can just beat him down a couple of times and then he just won't get back up anymore. It's like the God Knights where they just regenerate. But at least for the God Knights, you need Conqueror's Haki to beat them. For Urouge, you just wound him enough and he just won't get back up. Like, even think about it like this, right? If Urouge dodges an attack, that doesn't really benefit him because he's not gaining a power boost at that point. Like, Urouge is such a strange character, and I just don't know where he's going to fit in. And that's kind of the whole point of this video, right? Where will he show up? I think that if he's in Elbaf, he should just show up at the very end. Maybe he shows up and gives us Louis Arnault lore. Maybe he's read Bragman before, and he'll tell us why not to stay in Elbaf. Maybe he introduces us to the Heaven Realm, which was a very popular theory at the beginning of Elbaf. Because the Yggdrasil atom tree is so large and tall, people look at that and say, oh my god, maybe the Heaven Realm connects to Balloon Terminal. Maybe the Heaven Realm connects to Sky Islands. And if that's the case, maybe Urouge is up there. Last we saw, Urouge was last seen on a Sky Island. And lest we forget, but he is actually a Sky person as well. We don't know exactly where he's from. The popular theory in headcanon right now is that he is a Birkin, like Enel and the God Priests, which I do enjoy. If that is actually true, that would tie him into Birka lore and the Moon People, which I do think is going to be very instrumental when it comes to the Void Century. In case you guys forgot, the Birkin lore is that they were originally from the moon, and then they came down to Earth for resources, and they stayed here. And then eventually, Enel was born. Enel killed all the Birkins, destroyed the island, came to Skypiea, and then he went to the moon for endless birth, only to find out the irony of the situation because his ancestors did the exact opposite. If Urouge actually is a Birkin, I think he could drop a lot of lore about them, maybe tell us about the moon, maybe about the ancient weapons, because the Birkins seemingly had that information, right? Because they had the murals on the moon, so maybe he'll tell the Straw Hats about that. I think the lore drop could go absolutely ridiculous for Urouge. And that's kind of the thing with him, right? Lore-wise, he's like up here, brother. Power-wise, he's not bad, right? I don't want to make it seem like he's ass. He's just Capone Beige level, right? He's a Pooh level, which back in the day, pre-time skip, Urouge, literally a mad monk. Nowadays, you know, kind of scratching my chin at him like, okay, the Gorosei show up. Is Urouge doing anything? You know, the God Knights are here. Does Urouge do anything? I don't know, man. I don't know. But, you know, like I said, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he will just get a crazy power buff post-time skip, and he's just going to be insane. Maybe he is a future sight Ryuo advanced Conqueror's Haki user, but I just don't see it right now. And then, of course, you know, his devil fruit. Maybe he's awakened, which would be pretty cool. Like, what would that even look like? Because right now, he gets hit, he gets bigger, he gets stronger. He awakens that fruit, and since it is a paramecia, it should affect the surroundings? Question mark? I don't know. But yes, here we go. How important will he be? When will we see him? The votes come in at 11% for he is important and he is in Elbaf. 45% say he is important and we will see him later. Which, if you're wondering when we'll see him later, it could be at the very next island, which should be Lodestar, could be Marie Joie, could be a filler island, or could even just be on the open seas. There's a lot of places where we could still see him. 6% believe that he's not important and he is an Elbaf. And then, of course, 38% say that he's not important and we'll simply see him at a later date. So when it comes to his importance, I feel like he will be that guy simply because he is the last supernova to grace the Straw Hats. And we're in the final saga, brother. You know, I know that sounds silly, but because we're in that final saga, I feel like he can't just give us nothing, right? You know, it's not like he's being introduced as a group like Apu, Drake, and Hawkins, and Kid and Law. No. He is more or less being introduced by himself in the future. Kind of like Bonnie, right? Bonnie introduced Solo Dolo, boom, important during Egghead. Law introduced Solo Dolo during Punk Hazard, very important. I think Urouge might be the same way. Of course, to a lesser extent, I don't think we're going to get like a full-on backstory and, you know, do crazy adventures with him. But I just feel like whatever he provides, it will be more or less massive. I've seen people arguing, like, will we even see him? But I think that's a given. Like, I'm not even going to throw that up on the poll, simply because the Straw Hats have literally met every single supernova, minus Urouge. So it would just be straight up weird if we didn't see him. So I'm just going to say that is a canon event in the coming years. Which, notice how I said years, right? Is it even 2026? I have no clue. So, on to the comment section. Let's see what people are saying. This says, Oda forgot about him 100%. Dude, there's no way. Last known appearance, would it be... I believe it was just Film Stampede, right? Yeah, I think it was Film Stampede. He was fighting Luffy, and then he fought Douglas Bullet for a little bit, which, of course, he didn't really do too well in those matchups, but that's besides the point. This says, Oda is saving LeBron for a very special moment, trust. He'll show up once Enel does. Oh, that's big. Yeah, I think that's another thing with Urouge. Since he is a Sky person, since he's possibly a Birkin, the chances of him being a nice gateway to Enel, I think, is up there. So when it comes to this, right, if he does know Enel, maybe this will be what pacifies Enel. Because Enel is such a weird character. He is egotistical, he has a god complex, he's up on the moon. We don't exactly know what he's gonna be like if he comes back down to Earth and meets Luffy again. Will he want to fight Luffy right away? Will he be a changed man? No clue. Maybe Urouge is that one character that can get through to him if he hasn't changed. Like, hey, Enel, remember when we used to get burgers together? I don't know, dude. Like, the lore around him is just so mysterious. I don't want to say he's like Mihawk, but it's kind of like Mihawk. Like, we don't really know too much about this guy. So maybe he was good friends with Enel back in the past, or maybe he hates Enel. That would be kind of interesting, huh? Hey, Straw Hat, I heard you beat God Enel. Good job. May I join your fleet? Ooh, wait. If Urouge hates Enel and Luffy beat Enel, would Urouge want to vow his loyalty to Luffy? I mean, we don't have any other supernova under our roster. Maybe Urouge is the first supernova that officially joins the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Huh. And here's the thing, too. When it comes to these races in One Piece, you know, look at the Three-Eyed Tribe, look at the Lunarians, there's one where the Buccaneers even, they all have traces of Sun God Nika in them. They have some kind of Void Century relevance. So maybe the Birkins are the same way. Maybe the Birkins knew about the Sun God, and Urouge will look at Luffy, and he's like, holy crap, that's Joyboy. You know, holy crap, that's Nika. I'm gonna follow him. I don't think that'd be bad. Yeah, I mean, it's better to have him as an ally than an enemy. I just don't know what he'd provide as a villain, so... Yeah, Maddie Monk, huh? Yeah, I wouldn't hate it, man. I would not hate that whatsoever. You know, it's funny looking at him, because if you guys recall his pirate ship, it has the head of a Japanese Oni, and because of that, when we hit Wano, dude, I was convinced that Urouge was going to show up and show out. I was like, yo, he has ties to Wano. Oh my god. And of course, he never showed up. Which does make you wonder, like, why does he have a Japanese Oni as his ship? Like, maybe he does have ties to Wano, we just don't know yet. And that could be another reason why he allies with Luffy. Like, hey, Straw Hat, I heard you beat Kaido and freed one of my favorite countries. You know what? I'll join you. This says, I feel like he's going to be important in relation to the Sky Race in general. Maybe he's going to drop some lore or something. I don't think he's going to have a Law moment or Bonnie moment. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think his relevance will be below Law and Bonnie, but I think it'll be focused on just him. That's what I was trying to say earlier, by the way, in case anybody gets misconstrued. This says, Oda is saving the best for last. Have faith in God Urouge. He has to be important given his connections to Sky Islands, which have connections to the moon. I think he comes back in the same arc Enel comes back, yeah. He would be the perfect guy to bridge the gap. I think so. This says, I can't imagine him being anything more than a possible lore dump for the reader, same. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't imagine any of the Straw Hats fighting somebody and saying, oh my god, thank you, Urouge, for showing up. You know, like, imagine Zoro fighting Killingham. Urouge shows up, and Zoro's like, huh, time to fight together, Mad Monk. Like, what? No, that's not happening, dude. You know, I don't think Mad Monk will actually contribute too much in a fight. So yeah, lore dump is essentially how I'd view him. This says, Araki forgot. I'm assuming you meant Oda. Definitely see a God Nika relationship. So yeah, I think Urouge is going to be pretty major. I so hope he becomes relevant anytime during the story. He's my barbell. Dude, look at that. Like I said, he was the OG barbell, dude. That mythical status. Every supernova essentially had their own arc except for him, so I'd say he appears early next arc, or earliest, he appears at the end of this arc because it feels too late for him to be fully a part of Elbaf. Yeah, and if he was in the Heaven Realm, we just have to explain why he didn't come down. Like, maybe he didn't know, maybe he can't escape the Heaven Realm. We still don't know what that's about, right? So for all we know, Heaven Realm is not somewhere you can easily leave. Maybe that's it. And he's like, oh, I wish I could help you guys fight Emu, but my hands were tied. Urouge is one of my favorite One Piece characters. The chill mentality with that character design, I love it. While we do know that Sky People are important to the overall world and its history, so whenever that comes back into the story, we will most likely see Urouge, not to mention the return of Enel. I love it. Yeah. Maybe that should be the next poll. Will Enel ever return to the story? Because I think so. But like I said earlier, right? The problem with Enel is just how does he fit in? Enel is a very powerful character. Dude, if Oda really makes Enel lock in and he gets a post-time skip buff, he'd be insane. Give him Future Sight, which he kind of already had. Give him Great Armament Haki. Give him Conqueror's Haki. Have him awaken, and he would straight up be a madman. And now, by the way, he has an army of moon robot automatons. Yeah, I do not know how he fits in. Like, let's say he shows up in the final war. What does he do? You know, Enel is such an anomaly. Does he help the Straw Hats? Maybe? But that would just be weird because it's like, okay, now we have too many powerhouses unless Emu is just really that insurmountable. You know, like, I can't see Luffy fighting him again because we already know how that's gonna go. Like, yeah, Enel, very odd character, but the best way to bring him back would be with Urouge, whether it's through flashback, whether it's through the current day stuff, whether it's just with moon lore. There's a lot of ways to make this work, and I do have faith. As far as how much I like Urouge, not all too much. Urouge isn't my favorite character, but because I love really dumb characters, I gotta respect it, right? A lot of people do like him, and like that guy said down here, right? He's their barbell, and I can't hate that. So, the next poll kind of ties into something in the same vein as Urouge and Enel, but will the Straw Hats ever go to space? Yeah, had to take a second for that one. So, we know Enel is on the moon. We know that space pirates exist. We've seen them in the cover page stories. Hell, I don't know if you guys have actually seen the Japanese volumes of One Piece, but in the back of certain volumes, not only do we get like a Panda Man cameo, but we also see Panda Man travel around the world of One Piece in map format. And in one of those, Panda Man sees aliens on Earth? Yeah, don't ask me, it's not like canon by any means, but it happens, man. You know, Oda and aliens kind of go hand in hand. He's been playing around with the idea for a while now. So the Straw Hats going to space, while it sounds super goofy, it theoretically could happen. You know, especially if Enel were to come down with a moon ship And with Uranus being a flying ship, possibly, yeah, the Straw Hats could definitely go to outer space and have a little adventure. My main thing would be, why? You know, what would actually be out there? Maybe Laugh Tale's out there, and that's why they go to outer space. That could kind of work, but also that would mean Laugh Tale is very, very far. I don't even know what that would look like. Oda is going with the planet themes, with the Gorosei, with the world government, with the gods. So yeah, like the planetary themes, the celestial themes are there. So them going to outer space, I don't think is too crazy. I just think that it's something I can't really imagine right now. I guess one way to make this work and to keep it cohesive would be if this were simply a One Piece movie. Like maybe the next film is Film Space or Film White because they go into the white void. I don't know. Granted, you know, Naruto has done this in the past, and I'd say Naruto's version of going to outer space worked relatively well, which was Naruto the Last Movie, where there's like a portal on Earth that took him to the moon. Maybe Oda could do a similar thing where Luffy goes into the Phantom Room in Marie Joie, and instead of taking them to Imu, it takes them to the moon and Enel and all them. I think that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I'm just really divided. Like, should this be canon or should this be like a nice filler arc or movie? Hell, maybe this is even just simply the end of One Piece and how Oda, like, you know, sends off the series. Oh, Luffy explored all of our world. Time to go to outer space now. I don't know, man. I mean, Luffy's the sun god. He could just travel back home. He goes to the sun. But granted, the other Straw Hats with him might just die. You know, they disintegrate. Oh, dude. So as you can see here, you know, before we go to the comment section, 44% of people believe that we will go to outer space, whereas 56% say no, we're not going to outer space. And I will admit, I'm kind of shocked by these poll results. I thought that they would be a lot more skewed towards no. Granted, no is winning, but I thought it would be like maybe 80-20. So seeing 44-56 is actually quite surprising. And, you know, I like it. When it comes to One Piece, and I guess most series in general, I tend to keep a somewhat open mind. So, yeah, I'd have to see how they work with space travel before I really judge it. Just right now, brass tacks, it seems kind of goofy, but, you know, we'll see, brother. This says, Buggy is actually just Shamrock in disguise. I love how this just comes out of nowhere. Buggy is Shamrock in disguise. Loki will use the Garm Fruit to bring them up to space. Fact checked. Mark. My guess is that either Laugh Tale is in space or on the moon, or the series will end with the Straw Hats, there we go, going to space to explore the planets, multiple moons, or whatever. I feel like anything is possible in One Piece. It could. It just depends on what Oda wants to do with the Enel and the moon's lore, if anything at all. Yeah, so since the moon has, like, I would say this ancient city within it, theoretically, Enel could bring the moon to us? We don't really know how Enel is working with the moon right now, but he could just do like a moonfall situation where we look up at the sky and the moon is like descending onto planet Earth. That could happen. I mean, we do know that there are shenanigans with the moon in general. Like hell, you know, every time Luffy goes into Sun God Nika mode. Okay, the first time Luffy goes into Sun God Nika mode, we see the moon in the backdrop. There's a lot of panels with the moon in the backdrop and Luffy in the forefront. And even with the minks, I guess this is the best example. I should have gone with this first. But the minks, when they look at the full moon, they turn into their Sulong forms. We don't know why that's the case yet. You know, apparently that's because of the memories of their ancestors, but there could be a deeper meaning to that. And the moon could hold the answers. Maybe they bring the moon down via Enel, and then we learn all of that. I don't think that would be too crazy. It sounds crazy though, I'll admit. I feel like the show is meant to cover the ocean, and the world space will be included but never ventured towards. I think yes, but it'd be super short, like how Island of Hidden Animals or the pre-Alabasta arc is short. Yes, at the epilogue of the manga, like a ... and their adventure continues type of thing. As an adventurous perspective, it would make sense, but in reality, I don't think it's going to happen. I really feel like it's going to boil down to if Luffy incorporates the moon into any of its attacks. Like imagine he just hurls the moon at someone and all of a sudden Enel is back to Earth. I feel like they won't go, but if they do, it's more than likely won't be the whole crew. Yes, let's go to space. I'm just imagining the final fight with Imu being a giant ping pong ball game with the other moons of the blue planet because Imu loves games. I voted yes because it's awesome. Laugh Tale is either in space or under the sea. No way Oda doesn't do something whimsical or magical for the reveal. Also, one good way to look at this too is if the Straw Hats don't go to space, but instead Oda has the Void Century, Joyboy, or Nika even go to space. I think that'd be an easy way to do it. Like we see Joyboy traveling around the universe. Maybe Nika does that because Nika's the actual sun god. And that is when we see the space adventures. It doesn't have to be the Straw Hats. You know, I think one comment said it best, right? Like, oh, it doesn't have to be them. Or maybe it's not the whole crew. Yeah, that could be it. It could simply just be Joyboy or Nika. And then we see how they come onto Earth. Because we know that the sun god fights the earth god. And then there's the forest god, the sea god, rain god, yada yada. So yeah, maybe we see that from the sun god's perspective. That would be fun. Of course, that would neg the whole Straw Hat epilogue going to space thing, but yeah, like I said, I'm pretty divided on that one. It depends on how we work with it. Like, dude, Nami's goal is to map every island on the blue planet. Frankie wants to sail around the entire world. Would they later expand that dream to include outer space? Because if that's the case, they're never finishing it, man. That is insane. Unless space is a lot smaller in the One Piece world, but here in reality, it's endlessly expanding, so good luck with that one. But yeah, that is all we really have when it comes to Urouge in space. Funny, I was trying to do research earlier, and I typed in Urouge into Google, and look at these results, brother. Whatever happened to the Mad Monk on Reddit? What happened to Urouge? Urouge theory. Does Urouge even have a devil fruit? What happened with him? Is he Skypean? Why is he smiling? We missed something big about him. What do y'all think Oda's cooking with this guy? Where the F is he? And there's even like a little Gamerant article down here. Look, look, look. One Piece fans are still waiting for Urouge. Brother, this guy is an actual phenomena. Funny enough, you know, I was looking through this as well. Dude, look at this OG bounty. You know, back in the day, this went pretty hard. 108 million. But nowadays, man, if he doesn't get like a post-time skip bounty buff, yikes, man. 108 million? I get it. Oda made it 108 for the Buddhist themes. But nowadays, ooh, it ain't cutting it, brother. Anything under 300 million, I'm sorry, you're fodder, dude. You're fodder. I mean, a majority of the Straw Hats have over 300 million, right? No, that's the base level. Minus Chopper, the base level is 300 million. So I think Urouge needs a nice buff. I think he needs to be at least 500. Not like it really matters, but, you know, just for Urouge's sake. Oh, look at this. Yeah, we got pictures of Urouge, and they're all just him smiling, man. Him as a kid, though. Yeah, he was even smiling as a kid. What does he have in his hand? What is that? Is that like a GameCube? He just has a block. A poneglyph? Maybe it's a sunstone. That'd be cool. Yeah, imagine that. Sunstones in Birka or Skypiea or something. Sky Islands are close to the sun. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy. Again, maybe ties him to the Heaven Realm in Elbaf. Also, shoutouts to his weapon. We don't know what this weapon is. Dude, we don't even know what this is. Look, 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 look. What is that? Is that a pillar? I remember in an SBS, somebody joked, and they're like, oh, Oda, does he carry around lead from a pencil? And Oda was like, yes, he does. Oda was joking, but it does look like it, man. What the hell is this? The last pillar from his house before Enel burned it down? Yeah, I'm not exactly too sure. We have Gender Bento Rouge too, before you've even seen him. Another Gender Bento Rouge. Just, what is this? A Rouge's bounty poster. Oh, from Stampede? Wait, is this? Oh my god. Guys, this is from Stampede. Not even in the movie, he got an updated bounty post-time skip. I know. Film Stampede, not canon, but wait, what? He didn't get a bounty buff in Stampede? I mean, hell, even if this is like Strong World, right? It's still 108? 2 years past, it's 108 still? No. It's got to be like Oda's editors. They didn't know the plan for him. Yeah, Oda probably looks at this and he's like, oh, guys, come on. It's actually 700 million. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, yeah, we're going to get to the fun facts section. Dude, one of the few things we know about him, by the way, it's hilarious. Oda came out in an SBS, and he said one of his favorite hobbies is lovemaking. Where is it? SBS-based trivia. If Urouge was not a pirate, he'd be a cabaret club manager. Here it is, here it is. His hobbies are drinking alcohol, lovemaking, and traveling. What a guy. Hey, he's just like any one of us, brothers. He is just another one of the boys. That is hilarious. His animal resemblance is an elephant. If he was in the real world, he'd be from India. Yeah. Dude, this is quite the character, man. When will he show up? How important is he? $1 million questions. But with that being said, y'all, let me know what you think about the Mad Monk himself. Is he a D-Clan member? Because he always smiles. That is something people brought up in the past. I just have no clue. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Let me know what you think about all of this down below. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day, brothers.